Third time's the charm, right? What's up, booktube? It's Leah Cooper, and today I'm bringing you my January TBR. I know, this TBR is late, and this is the third time I've tried to film this intro, but I keep getting something stuck in my throat, and then I gave myself hiccups trying to clear my throat. It was a mess. So, we're just gonna forge ahead. It's late. I don't care. One of my goals this year is to try to be more consistent with video uploads. So this is my attempt at doing that. I've already read one book so far this month. I won't mention what it is. And I'm reading 4 books, which I will mention here real quickly because they're obviously on my January TBR. The first one is The Emperor's Edge by Lindsay Buroker. This actually lost in a little poll I did on Twitter to asking which should be the last book I read in the month of December. It lost to After Atlas, which I did read in December. But I still wanted to read this because it's been on my Kindle for years. So I'm currently reading it. I'm about 70% of the way through. I am not enjoying it as much as I had hoped I would. It's not the story I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a fantasy with a detective solving a mystery. And there is a mystery element, but the detective is really not acting as a detective or in the capacity of a detective so much. There's a lot of like other stuff in it that I'm just a lot less interested in. So yeah, I'm moving through it, but slowly. I kind of spend a day reading, making progress on it, and then I go ahead and pick up a different book and read that book and then come back to it. So yeah, my goal is to just finish it before the end of the month. There we go. I'm also listening to 2 audiobooks. The first one is The Goose Fried by Yingzi Chu. I thought this was a purely historical fiction novel when I got it from my library's audio, and I was actually really excited for that. I know it's a little off genre for me. I don't necessarily read a whole ton of pure historical fiction unless it's a classic. The cover is beautiful, so I checked it out because it was available now. And I listened to it. It's read by the author who does an amazing job. She is a beautiful narrator. And I was just kind of swept away into the story. And I thought it was just going to be about a girl who maybe like marries a dead son and moves into a family and then tries to find happiness. That's what I thought it would be about. But it is actually a fairy tale retelling. It's set in historical Malaya. And there is this whole like thing with a dead son and his family trying to get this girl of a much poorer family, a family that's fallen on hard times, to marry her to their dead son, who's like a restless ghost type thing. But there's this whole like folktale myth element to it. There are real ghosts in it, so has a lot more of like a fantastical element to it than I was expecting. It's still really good. It's still really beautiful. Hopefully I'll finish listening to it before the end of the month. It is pretty long of an audiobook for me, and since I'm listening to 2 audiobooks currently, it's like my time is split on it, but I'm really loving this. The other audiobook I'm listening to is Penrick's Mission by Lois McMaster-Bujold. This is the 4th chronological book in the Penrick and Desdemona series. I know she's written / published some of them out of order. I'm reading them in chronological order, not publishing order, because that's how I like to experience things. So I'm listening to this. I think I'm about 30% of the way through this. Again, it's only like 5.5 hours. Though this is actually longer than the other Penrick and Desdemona books I've listened to. It's actually like short novel status instead of novella status. I'm enjoying it. It takes place many years later after the last couple of after Penrick's Fox and Penrick and the Shaman, and it takes place in a different country than where we've been. And yeah, I'm not going to say anything else because it's the 4th book in the series. And then the 4th thing I'm currently reading, and this is the thing I picked up last night after I read like 50 pages of The Emperor's Edge, and I just couldn't keep going, so I wanted to pick something else up. That is The Camelot Keeper by Elizabeth Peters. This is the prequel novel in the Vicky Bliss series, and it's also one of the 20 books I want to read in 2020 because I wanted to start in on the Vicky Bliss series. And this is about 340 pages, but it is hilarious. Like the interior layout, I think you can tell. There are not a whole lot of words on the page. The font's a good sized font. It's not large print or anything, but it's a good sized font, and there is a generous margin in it, which again is actually a really good thing, I think, for a mass market paperback where font size tends to run kind of to the small size. So anyways, I'm probably going to zip through this pretty quickly though, which is great. And, you know, checking that thing off the list so far, okay, so she wrote this one in 69, I think. Yeah, so she wrote this one in 69, and you can tell, like, there's definitely some interesting racism. There's a little bit of fat phobia in it, and there's a lot of misogyny directed towards the protagonist, who's a young woman traveling. She's an American. She's traveling in England on holiday by herself, and she gets in trouble. And it's kind of frightening. Like, I'm really glad I didn't live in the 60s. I'm just really glad I was born in, like, the 90s. After that, something I do want to pick up this month as well is going to be The Girl Who Kicked the Hornet's Nest. This is another book off my 20 books to read in 2020. So I was actually debating between which one of these I wanted to pick up as my, you know, thing to read while I was also reading Emperor's Edge. And I went with Vicky Bliss, or I went with the Camelot Keeper, just because it was shorter. So I knew I would be able to get through it faster and get back to that book, because I don't want to DNF it, and I don't want to spend too much time in between reading pieces of it, but I need to, like, take breaks from it. So I figured that would be easier to do with this. But I do want to get to this month, because when I made that 20 and 20 video, I realized how ridiculous it is that I own this and I haven't read it, because I love these books. So I do want to get to this month, and I think that might be everything I'm going to read in January, just based on numbers. That would be 6 books total, which is kind of my goal per month, is to read 6 books, because I want to read 72 books this year, and it would be fine. I definitely don't think I'm going to be picking up any other audiobooks. I think I have plenty of audiobook to get me through the rest of the month. If I want to pick up anything else though, it's probably going to be Before Mars by Emma Newman. I have this on an ebook arc, but I can only read it on my phone because the digital edition I had on my laptop expired, because I got it from NetGalley. And I never actually got around to reading it, but I can still open it on my phone. So I'll probably read that afterwards, just because I've been really enjoying those books in that series, and I don't want to let too much time go by before I read the third one. So yeah, that'll be like my other thing to read. And I think that's going to be my whole January TBR. We'll see if I pick up anything else in my wrap up, but that's a pretty good place to start. Let me know down below what you're currently reading, or what the first book of 2020 was that you read, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.